what experience do you think you have for the role?
I think a lot of my experience comes from the fact that having worked between undergrad and doing my master's, I have kind of a lot of experience in making that transition into the career workplace, and I think that's a lot of things that a lot of BME students want guidance with, is kind of how to transition into the workplace and finding like mentors and stuff that appeal to them and come from their backgrounds. Also, I do my own private work as well, so I run like my own life coaching program for women of colour. So I have quite a lot of experience of doing like a person-centred kind of service and organisation for people of colour and getting them to kind of think about their experiences and moving on and working towards their goals and achieving what they want to achieve. So I think I can integrate that into an educational setting as well.
Student activism and liberation movements have a pretty negative image outside of university circles. What do you think we can do about it? Do you think we need to do anything at all?
I think activism wouldn't be activism if it didn't come across as negative in some way, and I think there's not really much we can do about that, because regardless of whatever people are protesting against, whether people agree with it or not, I think the media kind of like to put out the negative images of the protesting and the shouting and that kind of thing. I think what we really need to do is just make sure that we balance that image with some positivity as well. So kind of like getting more of the student voice heard and into those areas, you know, getting representatives to go forward and kind of talk to mainstream media as well as student media and put forward, you know, the clear and honest points of view, as well as to counterbalance a lot of the negative imagery. But I think negative imagery, it's always going to kind of be there, so it's kind of like counterbalancing it.
So how do you plan to open up the understanding of BME cultures so everyone is made aware?
Oh, one of my great ideas actually I have is like, I'd like to have like a week or maybe a month where we do kind of cultural interchange or exchange week or month, with getting all the societies involved. So what I would ideally do is like randomly pair up two different societies. It might even be like, you know, you could have like Caribbean society paired up with like Chinese society and kind of get them to work on a project to kind of produce like a cultural show, maybe at the end of the summer, and kind of present that to prospective students coming up that are applying to UCL, and just showing them like how all the different cultures of UCL are celebrated. And I think in that way, getting two random societies that are not related to work together, kind of in the process of working together, they become educated about each other, and they then share that with everybody else in the university. So that's one of my main ideas.
How will you break down barriers that put BME persons in a different category from everyone else? So like, how will you promote a community atmosphere between everyone, as opposed to making like a sort of them and us mentality?
Again, I think it's kind of like recognizing that people are intersectional. Nobody is just black or Asian or Arab or Chinese or Caribbean or whatever your ethnic group is. Nobody's just one thing. Some people, they're like, okay, I'm black, but I'm also a woman, for example, myself. You know, I also do many other things that are not even related to my race or my gender. And I think it's kind of incorporating those other aspects into BME network events, and not just focusing on the fact that race is an issue. Like, we are here to represent people from different ethnic groups and their racial groups, but also celebrating the other things about cultures that are not necessarily solely rated on you know, fighting against racism and things. Those are important, but I think also having a balance in terms of celebrating our culture as well as fighting against prejudice towards our culture.
One of your manifesto points is that you want to introduce global food onto campus. How do you plan on introducing global food to the campus, and what impact do you think this will have on students?
I plan on basically doing that. I think first of all, kind of give a survey and kind of get an idea of what kind of food students want, because I think it's not good to assume, and it's also not good to put in stereotypes of food as well. You know, you don't want to say, oh, somebody's Italian, so let's get more pizzas in, or, you know, that kind of thing. That can come across quite wrong and negative as well. I think kind of talking to students and seeing like what kind of things would they like to see that are also feasible as snacks. I know food is actually quite a big part of studying for most students. Like everybody's snacking in the library, and I know a lot of people get really unhealthy with the snacking and vending machines and that kind of thing, but I feel like there's such a diversity of students here, and I feel like it's such a beautiful thing we could embrace. And I think kind of like speaking with the provost and those in the catering facilities and just saying, you know, how can we make it different? How can we make UCL reflect what it is, a global university, but not just in studying, like in all aspects, and just kind of getting the students. And I think people love that. Like London, you go around London, you could find food from any nationality in any place in London. And I think kind of bring like what's in our surrounding environment, like into the studying environment too. I think that would be quite cool. So that's my plan.
Another one of your manifesto points says that you're going to challenge the provost to review the use of the anti-terror prevent strategy. What do you mean by that? Are you going to ask UCL to like break the law and not cooperate with the Terrorism Security Act, or like what's your actual plan for that?
No, obviously it is law, so you know, we do have to kind of follow it. I just think we need to really be careful about exactly the guidelines of what exactly are we reporting and to what extent. I think we need to really sit down and review, you know, what exactly classifies as suspicious or not. And I think kind of making sure that the students are also aware of it as well, because a lot of people, when I spoke to them, they're saying, what is this prevent? I've never heard of it, or oh, I didn't think it was at UCL, or I didn't think it was at university. And just kind of educating people better and having the guidelines clear about, you know, what are UCL going to use, what information are they passing on, and what exactly classes as suspicious behaviour or not suspicious.
You've also said that you want to challenge the BME attainment gap, and that's obviously a very positive thing, but what are your plans to actually achieve that?
I think with my plans for that is to kind of start like a mentoring group. I heard there was one like a few years ago, but I think it's kind of just become defunct now. And I think just kind of getting more people in academia that are from BME background